Well, hi, welcome to the KaiNexus Continuous Improvement Podcast. I'm Mark Graban, a senior advisor with KaiNexus. We're joined by
Greg Jacobson. I'm the CEO and co-founder of KaiNexus.
So thank you for being here, Greg. It's good to do another episode with you. We're going to talk about a couple of things. We're going to talk about the upcoming KaiNexicon, and we're going to talk a little bit about, we're going to recreate an article interview with you that was in the IISE magazine earlier this year.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun. So let's make it happen.
All right, so that's what's coming today. Want to tell everyone about KaiNexicon. If you are a KaiNexus customer or if you're in discussions with KaiNexus about being a customer, hopefully you've already heard about KaiNexus and KaiNexicon. So we want to remind you about that. The 8th annual KaiNexus User Conference. It's going to be held in Austin, May 20th to 22nd, 2024. You can learn more at kainexus.com/KaiNexicon. It's always a great event. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. What are you looking forward to, Greg? How would you make the case of why people should come?
Aside from just a good experience of meeting other KaiNexus users, customers, clients face to face, I think what's remarkable about it is just the excitement that people have in sharing how they're using KaiNexus, sharing what's working, what's not working. And we have a lot of fun. There's a whole bunch of customer presentations on their experiences and their successes. And then we do this really fun thing. It's almost like speed dating, where almost every single customer will meet every single customer through this 2-day kind of process. We do a couple hours one day, then a couple hours another day, and people will share just novel, different ways that people are using KaiNexus. So it's great. So,
we call it Speed Nexus.
Speed Nexus. Thank you for reminding me of that. Yes, Speed Nexus. And there's lots of opportunities to network. So we consistently hear that people will exchange their contact information, and then throughout the year, they just get another sounding board on, hey, have you encountered this? How have you fixed this? Or show me what new things you're doing. Because we're constantly releasing new features, and sometimes it's not really obvious all the different ways that the features can be used. Because as you know, Mark, we've essentially created a platform that every customer is building their own continuous improvement product inside to do their work. So it's just super fun. So I always say it's the best investment anyone can make in KaiNexus and making sure they're taking advantage of KaiNexus at their organization.
Yeah. And even though the event has grown and it's kind of got back into a growing track after we did 2 years of virtual KaiNexicon, but it's a small enough event. It's not a big mega event. Like, you really do get to meet everybody. All of the KaiNexians are there. You get to meet the team. You get to hang out and socialize with people you might be working with already in different roles. So there's all of that during the day and evenings. There's keynotes. Elizabeth Swan is one of the keynote speakers. She has done a KaiNexus webinar before, author of a really nice book called Picture Yourself a Leader. Another keynote speaker, John, is it Quirk or Quirky? I don't know John, from SA Partners.
I'll defer to you. I haven't.
Hopefully, yeah. I'm going to meet John and learn how to pronounce his last name. And then I'm going to be giving a talk. I don't know if it's officially labeled a keynote, but it's going to be a shorter session that's kind of fun, talking about warning signs and mistake proofing.
Love it. It wouldn't be a KaiNexicon if you weren't up on stage at some point, Mark. So.
Yeah. So I'm going to have fun with that. We're going to have panel discussions. You can learn about the tech and the roadmap and what's to come. And like Greg said, learn about ways to maximize your use of KaiNexus and how to best incorporate it into your improvement journey.
We have some huge things coming in the product. And so we'll be showing some of those probably for the first time and talking through those, and it'll be a lot of fun.
So again, KaiNexicon, 8th annual, May 20th to 22nd, 2024. So you can come in, travel Monday morning, and then we go in the afternoon, in the evening, all day Tuesday, and then Wednesday we end at about 3:00. So hopefully that works out. A lot of people come in, they choose to stay in Austin, or they come early for the weekend. Lots to do.
Definitely a nice time. And if you enjoy barbecue, there's of course going to be lots of barbecue and music and all the things that Austin's known for. So
yeah, it is. It is a great time. So come join us again. You can learn more at kainexus.com/KaiNexicon. So as we talked about previously, Greg and I did a podcast that previewed the keynote talk he was going to do about habits at this conference name is always a mouthful, the HSPI, the Healthcare Systems Process Improvement Conference, that is put on by the Society for Health Systems, which is part of the Institute of Industrial and Systems Engineers.
I'm glad you had to do that.
I'm a member, and so I have to think for a minute, but I got it straight. Greg not only gave a keynote talk at the conference, he was featured in the IISE magazine in the February edition, where they kind of do an interview with somebody. What's your story? And we're going to kind of recreate that here in audio and video format. So I'm going to ask questions as if I was there at IISE magazine. So first off, Greg, what inspired you to pursue a career in healthcare?
So really, I got really interested in biology during college. I thought I was probably going to be a lawyer or something in that world. I was a big debater in high school. Went to college. I had a professor by the name of Dr. Eric Richards, and he just blew my mind in biology, and I got really interested in that. Realized I loved teaching, and so one thing led to another, and going to medical school and being a physician that could use biology. And really, at the end of the day, what is a doctor? A doctor is a teacher to give you insight about what's going on in your body and how to fix it or how to make it better. And so that was the culmination of those different interests, and I was off and away. And I remember my first semester of college, I had a couple marks that were not putting me to be medical school bound, and I went in to the counselor and was like, "Yeah, I think I want to go to med school." And she was like, "Well, you can't make anything other than A's from here on out." And so I was like, "All right, here we go." And needless to say, I got in. So it was a good kick in the butt, as they say, and I just really couldn't have been happier with the decision. So
yeah. And that's Greg riffing. That's one of his favorite words, by the way. He's not just reading what was in the IISE.
We're way off.
You're getting the longer riffing off of what he told the magazine. So this is good. This is value add.
Yeah.
So keep it up. The second question, though, that they asked: when did you first realize healthcare processes need to be improved for better patient outcomes?
It's interesting. I think what is kind of remarkable, probably, to process improvement people. At least when I went to med school, we're talking 97, 01, 01, 04 residency timeframe. There was never a mention of process improvement, continuous improvement, Kaizen, success. There was no mention of that. There was clearly a broken system. As a medical student in an academic institution, you're basically there to be the grease for this kind of a broken system. You're there to go track things down, and you're, at least back then, you go get all the reports and the labs and make sure this happens, and you kind of learn all the tricks of the trade of how to make a hospital work, or how to get your patients what they need. It's never a straight line. And I already at that point was what you referred to me as a lean thinker. I was a lean thinker. In high school, was doing process improvement at my mom's tuxedo shop. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was like, why is this so inefficient? Why can't we? I 5S'd her warehouse without knowing what 5S'ing was. It was like, have we used this in the last 5 years? No, let's get it out of here. It's just cluttering things up. And so as you get further into your career, you realize just how broken the system is and how frustrating it is sometimes to do the right thing. And so when I was handed Miyazaki Imai's book Kaizen, and it just kind of blew my mind that there was a whole improvement discipline out there that you could learn these principles and apply it to any system. So it became really obvious to me that was the way healthcare was going to get better, that there wasn't like, some magic technology or some magic bullet that we were waiting to discover, but it was going to take every single person that's operating in the system to roll up their sleeves and to work on making things better. So I'm happy someone handed me the book, and it really changed the trajectory of my career.
Yeah. And the phrase I use, I think a lot, is intuitive lean thinker.
Oh,
As I've met, you're in that category, and others who I've met. There are people who, I believe we're getting off from the interview a little bit. Everyone can participate in continuous improvement, but some people do have a little bit more of a natural, not to sound all fixed mindset about it, but there's sort of that innate curiosity and questioning, and your parents clearly weren't stifling that there in their store.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's a fixed mindset to say that there are some, whether they're personality traits or whether they're just ways of doing things, that some people are going to have more proclivity to. It's probably just simply growth mindset, honestly, Mark, right? We're people that have a growth mindset are open to the idea that either they can get better or their surroundings can get better, and so they lean into that. And curiosity is definitely a very aligned trait there. And so I don't think this is, a 1 in 1,000 kind of thing. I'm sure 5 or 10 or 20% of people have this kind of like innate, desire to be more efficient in what they do or to take waste out of a system. This is it might even be higher than 20%. So
yeah, I couldn't put a number to it, but I'm glad.
It's not. It's certainly not in the single digits or the low single digits. It's
No. All right. So the next question from the magazine then. Tell us how you came to start KaiNexus and describe its mission.
Yeah. So when I was handed Mizaki Amai's book, I was given the task of, hey, you think like this. I think we could teach our residents these principles, and then when they go into their own emergency departments, that they can use these principles to make their emergency departments operate better. And so read the book and was completely transformed and said, yes, this is perfect. This is just a great way we can have our residents participate in quality improvement projects, which was something you had to do anyway. It was just really cumbersome and no one wanted to do it. It was like checking the box. But this was, hey, just go solve something that frustrates you in the ER and identify it and let's work on it. And so it became something that foster their intrinsic motivation. And I was like, oh, well, just send me an email and I'll try to manage this. And so honestly, it was a complete cluster. I was trying to email and forward things to people. And so one thing led to another, and realized that, we're like in 05, 06 timeframe here, Mark. And so it was realized there needs to be some technology that you can go to. The first versions of this probably looked a lot like a suggestion box, an electronic suggestion box. And then as time went on, there was this realization that we're not implementing, 1 out of 100 of these. We're not like collecting a whole bunch and choosing the right one. We're really collecting them, and we're actually implementing or working on all of them to implement some kind of improvement. And so one thing led to another, and I was like, hey, there's nothing that exists like this in the market, and let's go build something. And then realize building software is really difficult. It's not a side project. We started building something homegrown. I'm sure many people listening to this have gone down that route. Like, oh, how hard could it be? Right. And so one thing led to another, and it was like this realization that if we were going to build technology to actually make this happen, we were going to have to do this as part of a software company. And so that became our mission, to go spread continuous improvement, and use technology to help facilitate the intrinsic motivation to help maximize the improvement potential of an organization. And here we are, almost 20 years later.
Yeah. So let's look years into the future, the crystal ball question. What are a few of the key changes and advancements that you see on the horizon for healthcare in the next few years?
I think there's the obvious ones, right? There's how is AI going to help things, whether it's pattern recognition, whether it's going to take into account your all of your healthcare information, and then you can ask it questions and say, oh, well, based on all the data you've accumulated and your current conditions, Greg, and all the tracking that we're doing on you, I think these are the things you should be thinking about in general. And of course, there's going to be the genetic kind of awakening or continued infusion of really specific type of recommendations that based on your genetic profile. So I think there's a lot of those things. But what I think the probably the thing that needs to happen the most is this almost like taking back, if you will. Like, patients need to understand that the system is broken. I'm not giving up on the system, but the system is broken, and they need to take back ownership of their own healthcare, of health. So I can't tell you as an ER doctor when I am talking to someone there and they say, "Oh, well, they never called me back." Well, I'm waiting for the doctor's office to call me back on that, and it's like, no, this is if they don't call you back, nothing happens to their health, right? If they don't take that next step. So what I think needs to really be this kind of this shift in the patient mentality is to retake ownership back of their own, whether it's their own data, whether it's their own questions, whether it's really their own accountability to understand that they need to be an active participant in this process and not just I'm envisioning like Pink Floyd, The Wall, not just being another brick in the wall, but really taking an active participation. And I think that certainly technology could help do that. And so that's what I predict. If we can get that mind shift to happen, is going to be one of the greater things that will happen to health and healthcare, at least in the United States. It's harder for me to speak outside of that.
I'm going to do these last two questions out of order. So I'm going to do the last question. In your experience, how do conferences like these, or even KaiNexicon, help healthcare professionals or people in general share ideas and make connections?
The word empathy comes to mind. I think if you're in your own organization, you don't realize that the things that are happening to you are happening in different manifestations, but the core issues are happening everywhere. So when you go and you meet people from different organizations and you hear stories, and you can understand that they're having some of the same issues that you're having, or they're having issues that you've made progress on, but you haven't made progress on the things that they haven't made progress on, that you can start kind of having that shared experience. And so that's the one thing I would say, is that there's certainly an exchanging of ideas. Yes, there's a networking that happens, but there's also this kind of human feeling component where you can start empathizing with people that are either doing the same job or similar jobs and similar roles in different organizations.
So I'll probably be there because I tend to attend the HSPI conference every year. It's going to be in the same location next year, Atlanta, north of Atlanta, 2025. Hope we'll see people there. Greg, maybe you'll get to come and be part of the booth team with other KaiNexians. And I will be there at KaiNexicon. So again, if you're interested, go to KaiNexus.com/KaiNexicon. So the last question, the magazine had asked, and you and I had done a preview during the podcast about what you were going to talk about, what you hope to pass along. And then you and our colleague Morgan Wright did a really good interactive breakout session. So maybe I'm going to ask more about reflections of like how you thought it was going to go. How do you think all of that went compared to your plan and what you hoped for?
I'll be honest. We've been talking about habit science now for a couple of years at KaiNexus, and we talk about habit science for many more years. But it's become an external facing topic for the last couple of years, and it's been interesting how it's evolved from. Duhigg's book, The Power of Habits, was certainly a pretty well-known book, but didn't probably have the notoriety that Atomic Habits has had. That and Clear's book has been out for a while, and it took a couple years for it to really take off. And at least from my perception, I'm not studying the sales, but it seemed like it was out for a couple of years, and then all of a sudden everyone was talking about it. So this kind of expansion of how does habit science influence an individual? How can it influence a team? How can it influence an organization? And then what was interesting is Chris Berman recommended a book at KaiNexus called Critical Influence, and I think that it really ties in so nicely, because the realization that we've had is that senior leaders and executive leaders have so much influence that they don't even realize that they have at their organization. I think a lot of times they think, oh, well, I need to make the big decisions and sit behind my desk and look at reports and you make, I'm going to make 12 critical decisions about the year, and that's going to be my big impact. But what they don't realize is that to influence is really to lead, and how, if they can influence in very particular ways, a little bit of behavior can have a big bang for their buck, so to speak. And so in kind of infusing that knowledge, definitely a book I highly recommend. A number of different authors, but I think it's Greeny is the way it would be pronounced, is the first author there. It used to be called Influencers, and then the third edition they changed it to Crucial Influence. And so infusing that into the talk was a lot of fun, because talks evolve over time as you learn more, as you incorporate more, as you have more discussions, and then it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of prep, but it was super fun. And I'll be honest with you, Mark, not to toot my horn. I'm not a horn tooter, but I was talking with one of our champions at San Mateo, and she said, "You're not going to believe this, but someone I work with came back and said, I just saw the best keynote at the HSPI and was talking all about it. And then finally the topic came up, and they realized she realized it was talking about me, and she sent me an email that was just so nice. It's like, you're not going to believe this, but someone really appreciated it. So it's fun to have a positive influence on folks.
Yeah. No, I think it went well, and congrats to thank you for what you and Morgan did between your keynote and that other session. And I'll put a link in the show notes to the 3 webinars that Greg and Morgan have done together on that topic. So, all right, that was our expanded version of What's Your Story with Greg Jacobson. So I think we'll wrap up here. Anything else that you want to add, Greg, before we go?
Thanks for pushing to do this. I never know what's going to happen. We were like, oh, how are we going to read an article? And Mark was like, just don't worry about it. Just pretend like you're not reading. And me, there's just no way. You're going to give me a microphone. We're just going to, we're going to riff, and we're going to have fun. So
I should have just said, well, Greg, just riff on it.
Exactly.
Okay. So,
that I can do.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Greg. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.
Next time. Thanks, Mark.
Or hear you next time.